Welcome to the Retail Journey Podcast. I'm James Harris.
And I'm Charles Greathouse, and today we're talking about a founder's story. What it's like to bring fractional headquarter teams to the land of Walmart. And we're interviewing James Harris.
Is this an interview?
James, welcome to your podcast.
Well, good to be here.
Excited. Glad you're here. Glad we get to take you all into the story of, well, how did High Impact come to be? A little bit about why. Why did we get here in the first place? I say we liberally, because
you're here.
I just got here.
You're here. You're working on year two.
You've been here since 2007. So talking a little bit about that journey and some of the common problems that you saw in the marketplace that we're focused on addressing today.
Yeah. Well, my background was originally in analytics, replenishment, and sales. A little bit at Walmart, a lot of that time with Unilever Foods, and then a few other suppliers here and there. But working for Walmart, some small companies, and then a large company for the longest period of time, I kind of got to see how successful and unsuccessful companies align themselves to serve Walmart. And the analogy that I like to use is in the larger CPG firms, let's say there's 10 salespeople. There's probably going to be 30 to 40 to 50 support people, whether that's analytics, replenishment, co-managed, at least back when that was still a thing. But all of the support roles that make the salespeople's job possible, because Walmart doesn't do business with companies that can't deliver in full and on time and meet their deadlines and things of that nature. So that was the gap in the market that I saw. And I don't have a encyclopedic memory of all the firms that existed at that time, but in general they were pretty sales heavy. So large sales teams, small support staff, and it was imbalanced from how the more successful CPG firms had built their team. So started with building out the support side of the business, and we stuck with that a little bit longer than I anticipated before adding in sales and some other services. But it's given us the opportunity to really refine what we can do for our suppliers. So with a small brand, you don't need 6 people or 10 people that are focused on your Walmart business, but you do need 6 or 10 competencies, which you get with our team in a fractional manner.
Yeah, for sure. So, I cut my teeth in retail in consumables, so I spent quite a bit of time on the other side of the table of folks like Unilever, and I can attest to that team's got their stuff together. They know where they're going. They know why they're going there. They know how to get there. If they say they're going to get well on a certain date, it's because of logic, reason, math, production forecasts, not hope, and a little bit of perseverance expected to come later. And I've worked with time at Walmart and with a lot of different suppliers, and there always seemed to be a pretty big difference between those that would be considered top tier and kind of the rest. I never did the math on how many people there are on the front side of the house versus the back side of the house, which is kind of what I'm hearing about, 10 on the sales side, up to 50 on the back side of supporting those and making sure everything's running as it should. I think I would probably find that to be true across the different teams. That the smaller guys, you just don't have it. It's decentralized, and you just have the folks that are they're there carrying a bag, and they're carrying most of it by themselves. Right.
And if you're a company that can only justify maybe a salesperson and an analyst, with the best analyst in the world, they will still have a blind spot. So we've got an awesome team, about 18 different analysts, but none of them are perfect. That's why they work together as a team. And when you're really limited to one person, you're limited with that person's experience and skill set.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird things that happen on the retail journey. It's a non-linear. You get into situations where it's I've never seen that problem before.
Every day.
Never had that flag switch off. Never experienced, just losing visibility for no reason.
I think the number one attribute of a great analyst in this market is the ability to roll up their sleeves and just figure out problems and then solve them. Way more than maybe even other valuable things like data science and manipulating systems to improve a forecast. Like, it's all important. But at the end of the day, sometimes the answer is not going to be right in front of you, and to figure that out in data is a really great skill.
Yeah, I think data sometimes shows up, and then other times it's like, well, how do you speak the language of all these systems because they're different than everywhere else? Mm-hmm. I know we were talking to one client about the journey from going through a distributor, so that distributor shows up to Walmart on their own, versus using third-party logistics to help manage the flow of inventory and having a more direct relationship with Walmart. As a merchant, I experienced both. I could not have coached, this client through that journey because it's not something I've experienced. Whereas our team, not all of them, but some of them have actually walked suppliers through that journey in the last year. And
Absolutely.
So it's like, that's a weird problem to have. Each company probably goes through it once. Mm-hmm. If they ever, have the opportunity to go through that, and having a team with a bunch of diverse experience ends up playing into that.
And we, of course, didn't start like this. We started with one person and a computer, and then it became 2 people and 3 and 4. And now we have a team of 27 people at last count. And it seems like we're adding every day or every week at least.
It does.
But that's what that has enabled us to do, is people can specialize more. So in the past, if there was me and 4 others, everybody had their desk of clients, and you covered sales, you covered reporting, you covered replenishment, you did your own item setup.
Yeah.
And to some of that is still true. I think sales informs replenishment and vice versa. So our analysts work on both, but on a team with somebody that has a strength to their weakness.
Yeah.
But the ability now to really have a group that focuses on content and Walmart Connect and showing up well in a digital space.
Yeah.
The sales team that you've been building out now with all former merchants and mostly former or salespeople that have worked in CPG as well, that approach every brand or opportunity as a buyer would, and how does this affect my category growth goals?
Yeah, the category where it ends up going, not just the individual item. It's like, what does this thing bring to the table? Which I have to imagine is also part of those early days of high impact existing, because you weren't a 50-person team, equipped to serve, one at a time. It was just that elevation of analytics not being an afterthought, but a core driver of growth and outcomes. And I think there's probably a lot of folks out there that have seen data be important, but haven't felt its impact on their business. What advice would you have for them as they're, navigating, either designing an org structure, thinking about how data is going to evolve? Like, we're entering into an entirely new era of data at Walmart, and the data game is elevating quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, the companies that are most dominant, the consumer packaged goods companies that you just know they're household names, whether they're talking about product innovation or trade fund strategy, marketing strategy, how to approach for new distribution, a promotion, whatever, it all starts with analytics. And I don't say data because you could have data laying around like trash, right?
Yeah.
It's what you do with the data. So it all starts with analytics, with facts, with numbers, and with guidance from what they can learn from what's happened before. And I understand for smaller businesses that can be a challenge, particularly if you're not in a category that has syndicated data, or if you're a bootstrap startup that doesn't have the capital to go acquire that data.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be looking for ways to incorporate that, not only to ensure that you're making the right decision, but you're going to have something of that nature to show, particularly with Walmart.
Yeah. As a data guy, it's music to my ears. I like using data to drive decision making. And I also have been haunted by a quote that a spreadsheet is not a window through which to view the future. So a firm named after analytics, how would you respond to that kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I would equate it with those who don't know history are destined to repeat it. So the spreadsheet gives you some history, but it's the human ingenuity and creativity and teamwork that creates the window to the future.
I think some, by mistake, associate the capability of analytics with the lack of creativity, and that's just not the case.
Right. No, I mean, if your entire decision making process on a big thing, I mean, sometimes you can make a decision with a spreadsheet, right? Do I have $10 to spend or 20? There are some of those, but if you're trying to move a business, a spreadsheet's just one of many components.
Yeah.
But it is a significant and relevant and foundational part of those components.
Yeah. There's another saying, retail is detail, which was always irritating to me because I was probably like early days pet department writing feature orders and not getting it right.
Yeah.
And being told retail is detail. It's like, okay. Yeah, I'm trying here. There's a lot of numbers, and I thought
it's
I
just
came up
one
with a
extra
good
zero.
system. Yeah,
it's just one extra zero.
I've told that story. I did ship a lot of dog food to that store, and I'm sorry. But retail is detail. How does that play a role in early days high impact, today high impact? Talk to folks that are in this space that are coming from the position of I have a very successful brand, and I'm entering into new phases of growth.
Yeah.
What's the role of detail?
I mean, I get the most excited about storytelling and really, finding something that's a light bulb moment. But in the first 10, if not every year of this business, the thing that would generate the most thank yous or wow were those orders didn't come in this week, and we went out and found that the order flag was turned off, or all the valid stores went to zero, or it was the problem solving part. The storytelling and all that are critical parts, but that's the thing that a new supplier isn't necessarily going to know, that there's not intentional and not out of negligence, but simply because of the scope and size and scale of Walmart, there's landmines kind of everywhere, or potential landmines.
And those details change, and we are in a significant season of change here in the Walmart
Very
retail journey,
Yeah.
if you would. What's it look like to steward detail in the change that we're in front of, namely, the switch to Luminate from TSS?
Well, I mean, the first is just knowing the differences between the two, how you get to the data, how it looks when it comes out, what amount of manipulation you need to do to it to get it into the form that you want it in.
Yeah.
That's the pretty foundational part. Then what you do with the details of the data is what you could have been or should have been doing with it previously.
Yeah. To circle back to something you said of, the data is not the actual value, it's the decisions. We've had OTIF data for a long time. It's been something provided to suppliers as you're trying to understand.
Yeah, it tells you if you got a fine or not, and if you did, how much. That's
on time and in full. And
that's data.
We've had, tell me about how, because I know we've had folks come to High Impact who have access to OTIF data and yet keep getting OTIF fines, and just don't maybe know how to put it together, or what's the gap? How do you turn that from data to action?
Yeah, a really critical part of being successful with Walmart is understanding their systems and ways. And so one of those systems is for most products, there are 42 distribution centers around the country, and how they handle, process, move inventory, what the process is to get it there, what the process is like for them to get it from the DC to the store, and so on. Pardon me. And the OTIF is driven by product. OTIF fines are driven by product either not arriving on time or not arriving in full. In full is pretty obvious. You didn't ship it.
and in full is if you shipped what Walmart ordered. Right. I did have, as a merchant, someone say, I shipped in full. It's like, what do you mean? Well, I shipped everything I had. Well, but Walmart ordered more than that. That's not in full. That's...
Yeah, so the on time is what we as their partners can help with, and it's identifying it's not that every order was late, it's that certain ones were. Well, were those certain ones with the same DC or the same 2 or 3 DCs? If so, then we know, it's a lead time situation, or we need to change carriers, we need to whatever the case may be. There's about a dozen options depending on what the actual cause behind it is. But it's the combination of data, taking it as deep as you can and need to get to an understanding of the problem, but then also understanding how the systems work and how to affect the change that you need.
Yeah, some odd bits there. I think we've probably saved a couple of operation manager relationship with salespeople who were just saying get it there on time, and they shipped on time, so they thought, and things are not arriving on time or arriving early, which is not actually great. You need to arrive.
Yeah, and sometimes it's really practical stuff that isn't in a report.
Yeah.
So let's say you work with one carrier because commodity of doing more business generally is better for both parties. But if they have if their facility is 300 or 400 miles away from 4 or 5 Walmart DCs, it's probably a good idea to have a backup. For those 4 or 5 DCs, still work with your primary partner, but go a different route where they're not able to fulfill the need.
Yeah. Yeah, so the detail journey of retail, I think for most of us, that all starts on Mondays, where you come in and you try to figure out what has gone on, what happened last week, what am I going to get hit with as a merchant. It was one of my goals to try to not surprise, but call out opportunities on Mondays, so that my supplier team was paying attention to where are the opportunities, where do we need to go next. Tell me about how what's Monday look like now that everything has shifted from the old way in DSS to a new way.
Yeah.
Illuminate.
Well, going back about 20 years for me, both as an analyst and as a salesperson, my Mondays started on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because you could get your data and have that ready to roll, do your populating first thing Monday morning, and by 9 o'clock, you're looking at or sending information to buyers, to employees, whatever, colleagues. That's going to be different. There's not a Sunday night update that'll be complete for the full week prior, or at least at this point there is not, and there could be in the future.
Yeah, it's changed every couple of weeks so far. So hoping that one updates.
Yeah, no, so that would be ideal. But for the time being, it's you're gathering your data on Monday, and there is one component of Luminate Basic is because it's a much better data schema of a data lake versus a flat file system. You will have to run, in some cases, 2 reports to get the set of data that you wanted and that you previously got from one report. Not the end of the world, but if you don't know that, that's time.
Yeah.
That's
or 2 reports, or 9 reports. For those out there that are like, am I the only one that's having to run a lot more? No, it's just a different structure. It's much more consistent. It's a great performance, but it is very different than the flat file. Yeah,
for sure. So some of your templates, if you're using Excel or even if you're using Power BI, some of the back end of those are going to have to be adjusted to accommodate it.
Yeah, we've seen several, not even that large, where you just can't, Excel can't handle the size of the data.
Right.
And that's a pretty big shift for folks that if you haven't worked with, and building in a BI system is very different than building in Excel.
Yep.
So change is happening. So High Impact started in 2007. That journey was solo for some period of time. Then you got people with you, and there's been a lot of change since 2007.
For sure.
DSS isn't
omni-channel. The word didn't exist yet.
So many changes. So.
We were in horse and buggies.
Has the consistency of change deepened your conviction for the use of analytics, or?
Oh, 100%.
Tell me about it.
Because now the data is more complex. There's more sources. There's more willingness to use the data on the other end of the table, the other side of the table. Companies in general, and Walmart particularly, are looking for fact-based things to remove some of the risk from the decisions that you want them to make.
Yeah.
So as much data, as much truth, as much something that helps tell your story for you that you can bring, is going to give them the confidence that this is less of a risk than perhaps something else I could do.
Yeah. Do relationships matter?
They do. But Walmart has always, maybe not always, I think in the early days, relationships mattered like they would in any small, quickly growing company. But at least in my career, relationships have been important, but not primary.
Yeah.
One, because people move. Walmart, most merchants are in their seat 2 to 3 years, typically max, sometimes less.
Yeah.
So that's going to shift over. So that relationship still matters in that you could reach out to them in their new role if you had need for it, but you still have to have the best price in the market. You have to deliver on time and in full. You have to be able to answer their questions and bring to them the issues that you find in your reporting without them coming to you saying, hey, why did this happen?
Totally.
If you don't do those things, you can have dinner every other week and still not have business or a successful business at Walmart.
Yeah, I think that's somewhat unique as I've learned more about the rest of the market and talked to folks that seem to be relationship as primary. Mm-hmm. As a merchant, it's like as you come into a new category, you're digging into data. You're figuring out what's happening in this category, what brands are driving growth for the category, not just the brand, what items are really starting to pop off, who's got healthy, consistent executional health, like are they delivering the things that they say that they're going to deliver? And so I think your comment is spot on of like, yes, of course, relationships matter, but the foundation is data.
Yeah.
So you may start a relationship off of data and build trust over time so they understand that you're a trustworthy partner in growing a business. And as people change, it always resets back to that data foundation.
Right.
So the either or mindset I think is missing the point that there are both and.
Absolutely.
That the analytics provide a gateway to having more and more trust-based discussions.
It can establish a trust-based relationship with a merchant.
Yeah. You mentioned omnichannel. That's an area of change that has been significant and accelerated a lot. The ratio of salesperson to support staff has probably increased.
Absolutely.
With more support needed, as there are now many different channels.
Because before the role of creating an item was a simple spreadsheet with some details about the item, now it's every ounce of content on an item page as well.
Yeah.
There's above the fold content. There's syndicated, optional, below the fold content that can bring a lot of value, and then the advertising mechanisms, primarily of Walmart Connect, but also off app to drive to the item page. There's a great deal more to it, and while e-com is growing rapidly, and the largest portion of Walmart's e-com growth is the grocery pickup and delivery. Excuse me. The web content is still informing a lot of in-store purchases. I don't have the numbers exactly in front of me, but it's somewhere in the vein of 60-ish% of significant purchases are researched on that retailer's website when purchased in the store. It's a really significant number. So if your content, even if your sales on .com at the moment are not great, your content still needs to be great because it can influence your in-store purchases.
Yeah. So e-com as a kind of a gateway for customers to discover your product. The same, does it show up in the merchant relationship as well? Is e-com a pathway to the store merchant?
Yeah,
what are you seeing?
We see that more and more. Virtually anyone can get a marketplace account. Walmart's been really advancing that. Had their first third-party seller summit this year, which I think is going to be, or last year, I should say. Yeah, it's going to be repeated in 24. So if you've got a great product and you either haven't gotten through, or they said you're not quite ready yet, like build out your business, improve your production, you can still start selling. And as you're successful, you've got a story that is not only I did this over at this retailer that's maybe not that much like you. I did it on your site.
Yeah.
This is $2 million.
Your customers.
Your customers spent this many millions of dollars on this product. Makes sense to bring it into the stores or some stores.
Yeah. What's some of the data people should be paying attention to from an e-com health standpoint?
Content score.
Content score.
Yeah. you can spend money all day to put the product in the location that you want it to, but if your content's bad, it's probably not going to cause a conversion. And the amount of traffic you'll get by having a good content score because of the algorithms is often better money spent than promoting it.
Yeah, you got to clean your house before you invite your guests over.
That's right.
I mean, come on, people. We got to do it. What else for e-com health? What are you seeing? Content score, huge deal. Are there other signals that end up?
I mean, there's the traditional ROAS and things of that nature. My approach to not only content score but Walmart Connect spending is, obviously you need to see how your sales trended online after or during the promotion, but you need to look at that alongside stores too, because if the advertising brought the consumer to the page that resulted in an in-store purchase, that's still the result of your advertising dollars.
Yeah, well, Walmart Connect's a great segue on e-com health. What do you say to folks who say, "Oh, I can't afford to advertise with Walmart Connect"?
Start with $100.
Yeah. I mean, you just can't afford not to. Yeah. It's like having a wonderful store with no doors.
Right.
Like merchandise to the tens. Like, that's great. They need a way to get in, and they're never going to find it if you're not. Like, the way to be found within Walmart.com, Walmart Connect is the door.
Test and learn. Don't start with a big budget if it's new for you and you don't have it. Start with a small budget and test and learn and trial and error. And there's white papers and there's companies like ours and others that can help you along that journey.
Yeah.
But the days of probably saying no and leaving it at that are probably behind us.
Totally. And if you don't have a Walmart Connect spend, this is not. I don't have a desire for people to spend money that they're never going to see again. Like, this is money that should be spent that's going to give you meaningful return. So do the ROI testing. I think that plays really well. In the omnichannel world, as things become more and more exciting, it feels like in-store activity is really picking up as well. Mm-hmm. What are you seeing now that you maybe didn't see, a decade ago?
Well, I mean, grocery pickup.
Yeah.
If I didn't work in this industry, I don't know that I would have been in a store since COVID.
Yeah.
So much of our groceries now are either picked up there or delivered. It's super convenient. That's probably the most radical shift.
Yeah. I think we mentioned demos earlier as well. Like, there's activity happening in store. People are really bringing traffic to life.
That's been fun to see. The last several weeks, at least in my local neighborhood market, there's 2 to 4 people demoing, and the colors are bright and the food's interesting, and it's kind of fun to see again. It feels like a normal thing that's been gone for a long time.
Merchants are merchandising. Like, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
All right, so play it back. High impact. 2007 it started because the power of an analytical support team in driving results changes outcomes. There's a separation with those that really have that support. High impact exists to bring that to life for folks that can't afford to have a 50-person staff,
right?
To support those that are selling and running that business.
Small businesses shouldn't have to compromise on their Walmart team simply because of their size.
And we didn't call it fractional back then, but now fractional headquarter team.
Yeah.
And so you have a team that will know and be able to understand and see the things that you don't see every day.
It's not a full-time relationship. It's a part-time relationship to the degree that the business needs.
Yeah. With full-time results, part-time,
that's right.
Structure, if you would. Retail is detail. That hasn't changed, but all the ways that you get it has changed. The data's bigger. It's omnichannel. Omnichannel is here to stay. It's definitely not going anywhere. And that means you have other expertise that's needed to really see things thrive. And then with the changes that keep happening, relationships matter, but the foundation is data. So as relationships change, you come back to like, great, what are we doing? How does that impact the category? Where does it go next? And that's kind of where the high impact analytics, like, that's where it shows up.
Yeah.
in that sweet spot. So, I mean, I appreciate the, kind of the journey of going from see a need, fill a need, to then forming a team, to then growing a team, and
man, what a team! That's I mean, that's the reason
Amen.
we have been successful and will be in the future. Is we've got a fantastic group of people that like working together and like solving our customers' problems.
When you get to hire character and competence and then bring expertise all around it, it's been really, really magical to see, and it's the impact is so significant for us, and I think our partners get to see it as well. For those that are thinking about organizational design as their teams grow, we've thrown a lot at them across effectively leveraging data, your team changing, retail fundamentally changing, all the data is changing. If you could give yourself advice 18 years ago, your company's about to become an adult.
Right, it's about to vote.
18, it can vote now. Like, what advice would you give to yourself or to others that are in that young, new stage entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, I mean, I would be a lot more humble about the way I did things. My why, I don't have any issues with. But good, solid partnerships with people that can complement your weaknesses, I mean, is really kind of critical. And it was a challenge on one hand because I knew I was building a type of firm that didn't exist in this market. So most of the advice I got was to do it differently. you know? So I had to go against the grain in some ways, but then in other ways, I think it hardened me to then not take in the things I could have taken. And I think that's probably my biggest learning from early days.
I love that. That's got to be felt, by lots of folks. You can't just take what everyone else says. Otherwise, why are we here? But then how do you still listen at the same time? All right. What are you reading lately? Can I get a...
What am I reading lately? I'm reading a lot. I'm on a historical fiction bender.
Nice.
So I read a book recently called 1867, which is U.S. history in the year of 1867, about 6 major things that took place. Kind of interesting. And then the book of Deadwood that the show is based on.
All right. What are you most excited about in 2024?
I'm excited to see our clients benefit from our Pharaoh's service, our Pharaoh's reporting suite. So as everybody switches from DSS to the Illuminate Basic or Illuminate Charter, we are unlocking more insights and tools within that data than before, and I'm excited to see how that benefits their businesses.
Yeah, me too. Awesome. I think that's about all we have.
Yeah, and if we've talked about anything today, listener, that you're dealing with, these challenges sound familiar, we would be more than happy to assess your business, free assessment, look at ways where, whether it's just a one-time sit down to kind of go over best practices, or maybe there's a way for more full engagement. We would love to hear from you, and you can reach out to us on our website at highimpactanalytics.com. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.